Necessary and sufficient are words that mathematicians use to describe two specific mathematical relationships that are different variations on the conditional statement that we've been talking about in the previous lectures. So I think of sufficient as being synonymous with good enough for. All right, so if P is true, then Q has to be true, but there are other conditions that might also make Q true. For example, consider the statement, if a quadrilateral is a rhombus, then its diagonals bisect each other. Well, it's certainly true that the diagonals of every rectangle bisect each other, yes, but there are other situations where the conclusion is also true. For example, the diagonals of a rhombus also bisect each other, even though a rhombus isn't a rectangle. So since Q has to be true if P is true, but can still be true if P isn't, this is equivalent to a conditional statement. Right? In other words, P is a sufficient condition for Q is the same as P implies Q. The other side of the sufficient coin is a necessary condition. A necessary condition is one where Q cannot happen unless P does. I think of it as can't happen without. Right? For example, if the diagonals of a quadrilateral don't bisect each other, then it can't be a rectangle. Or again, using our new language, having bisecting diagonals is a necessary condition for a quadrilateral to be a rectangle. Now, in symbolic form, that would be if not P, then not Q. Now, the first thing I want you to notice here is that is the inverse of a conditional statement. And as we saw earlier, a conditional statement and its inverse are not equivalent to each other. So these two new terms are definitely expressing fundamentally different things. Now, in my younger days as a software developer, I had a tendency to write conditional programming statements using a lot of negatives, and I had a manager who just found that really annoying. So I got into the habit of using logical equivalences. Yes, these do apply, right, and are a practical tool to use in software development. I got into the habit of using these logical equivalences to rewrite my negatively phrased if statements as using positive conditions. So I think it helps to make this a little clearer if we rewrite this in its conditional form, right? The conditional form of not P implies Q would be Q, excuse me, went back to the not, would be Q implies P, right? Because a conditional and its contrapositive are equivalent, right? This is an equivalent way of defining what it means to be necessary. All right, so now suppose I told you that something was both necessary and sufficient. For example, being a parallelogram is a necessary and sufficient condition for having bisecting diagonals. Now notice there, just in case you didn't catch it, right? I did change this. Right now, instead of talking about a rectangle, I'm talking about a parallelogram. Right? If we let P be the quadrilateral is a parallelogram, and we let Q be its diagonals bisect each other, then using our two symbolic definitions of necessary and sufficient, this must mean P implies Q and Q implies P. But as we first saw, right back when we talked about biconditionals, this statement is equivalent to P if and only if Q. So this is one of the key takeaways from this lecture. You'll often hear mathematicians say that P is a necessary and sufficient condition for Q. And in your head, you should hear that as meaning if and only if, or that there's a biconditional relationship between P and Q. All right, so take a look at that statement and think about how we could translate it to a conditional statement. All right, this is saying that if you are 16, then you can legally drive. In other words, if you've crossed that age limit, then you can be certain that you can get a driver's license and legally drive. It's possible that you may be able to drive under other circumstances, even if you aren't, but being 16 is guaranteed to put you in that category. So in other words, using the language of a conditional statement, if you are 16, then you can legally drive. All right, so let's ask the same question here. How can we rewrite this in the if-then form? Right, so what this is saying is that not having crossed that 35-year mark is an absolute bar to becoming president. All right, or if you aren't 35, then you can't be elected U.S. president. Or if we wanted to rewrite this using positive simple statements, we could write this as its contrapositive. If you are elected U.S. president, then you are at least 35 years old. So this lecture has been mostly definitions, right, terminology, but they're important terms. This idea of necessary and sufficient conditions, these are terms that mathematicians do use as you go on in your mathematical career. You are quite likely to hear people saying this, so they are something that you need to be familiar with. At this point, we are almost done with our discussion of truth tables. We do, however, have one more thing we need to discuss, and in a sense, it's harkening back to algebra again. Logical statements do sometimes have a certain ambiguity to them. For example, if I give you this statement here, well, a conditional and an and, you can write the truth tables out if you want to see this for yourself, but a conditional and an and aren't associative. Right? In other words, this and this mean different things. If you do the truth, if you write out those truth tables, you'll see some of this in the next lecture. You get different results. You get different final conclusions. So that's what we're going to do in the next lecture. We are essentially going to talk about an order of operations for logical operators.